Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to our talk. We're going to start on time, and I know, San Jose State, we're kind of infamous for coming into meetings at 5 minutes past, but it's okay. We're going to start on time. It'll be recorded, and you can see what you've missed. I want to introduce myself. I'm Debbie Andres, the Senior Sustainability Lead for the Office of Sustainability at San Jose State. And welcome to one of our Earth Month events. We're very excited about it. This is actually one of our first events. This is the first event that we're hosting someone from overseas. So I want to introduce everyone to Noam Bedin, an Israeli photojournalist and international speaker, has over a decade of experience in presenting challenges facing the state of Israel. He is currently focused on the magnificent, magical, and endangered Dead Sea, the changes it is undergoing, and the healing that is necessary. Based on thousands of photographs taken over the course of 4 years, Noam now offers photo exhibitions and multimedia presentations. The photos are taken on exclusive boat expeditions that you can participate in. Professionals and tourists from around the globe have joined him on these excursions. So I would turn it over. I'm going to turn it over to Noam. Thank you again for joining us and sharing all this great information with us.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Debbie. Hi, everyone. Shalom from Israel. It's 10 o'clock by us, so bring it on, as they say. Yeah, this is quite the perfect timing for us because we're actually entering tomorrow, Earth Day to 2021. A very strategic time for us to be engaging and promoting water sustainability and overall about environmental protection. And I'll be presenting here today about the Dead Sea, and I'll explain why this place is so unique, how this is relevant all the way out to you guys in California, how this has been affecting the entire region and throughout the world. There's a lot to get into. It really depends on you guys, how much you want to get into the story. And we'll have I know you guys been through Zoom this entire year. Everything is like one-dimensional. I'll have with you guys a demonstration using virtual reality technology with your own personal smartphones. If you check out the chat box and in a certain time during the presentation, you just copy that link of YouTube onto your personal smartphone on your YouTube app, and basically you'll experience the whole virtual reality technology, which is a great way to engage and entertain using this kind of technologies. Okay, so I know I can't see any of your screens. So I would usually ask who's actually been to the Dead Sea, seeing those hands, but apparently I'm not going to see any hands. If I could ask, does anybody know anything about the Dead Sea? If I'll just shout that out, I'll start with that basic question. Does anybody know anything about the Dead Sea, maybe, before I go on? Why even focus on this place? Why? Yeah? Okay.
All I know about it is it's the saltiest lake. Okay, that's one thing I know, and I also know about the Dead Sea Scrolls, and that's really because I'm a historian. Okay. That's all I know.
That's awesome. Well, it really is considered one of the most saltiest bodies today on the Earth. Okay, very good point. And have you actually being at the Dead Sea, maybe any chance actually been there? The experience of actually going out there? I'll show you very, very fast. The first experience people actually tell me. I spoke a couple of days ago to 500 people from 15 countries, and just hearing their experiences of the Dead Sea is just fascinating to hear firsthand how people describe their experience. And I'm happy to say that I'll be really showing in depth about how unique this story actually is of this unique kind of place. And like I said, the resemblance this actually has to other salt bodies in California, a lot to go through. So just be with me as much as you can. This is, again, the map of Israel. This is the Dead Sea. Jerusalem is over here. It's like a 45-minute drive to the northern Dead Sea. Usually people would tell me, yeah, this is the place you can actually put on these mud all over your body, these mud baths over your skin. If you go to the nearest mall, you probably have these Dead Sea products. This is what usually people affiliate with the Dead Sea. You could float on the Dead Sea because it's so salty, over 30% salt in the Dead Sea. You can actually evaluate your body to actually float. We had Colin O'Brien a couple years ago, and it was actually he had an amazing impact by just presenting the Dead Sea, by experiencing it. It was pretty fun actually seeing it firsthand. In any case, do you guys see this typing happening below me? This is very cool. Never seen that before.
Yeah, sorry. Someone actually messaged and said that there's a live transcriber that's available for those
Okay,
hearing. So yeah,
that is very cool. I've never seen that before.
me
I just
neither.
learned a new thing. Fantastic. Going back all the way to the historical aspect of it, going the first inhabit of humankind actually is mentioned in this area, specifically in the Dead Sea. Biblical stories, thousands of years ago. Going to the modern history, 2,000 years ago, the Nabateans are tribes living on the other side of the Dead Sea, on the Jordanian side. They're the first ones actually to be known to be exporting these minerals throughout the entire world, making a lot of profit out of it. I'm sure you guys maybe probably heard about Petra. Petra, like a world known, uh, um, it's a world known famous place in Jordan. Is actually built by making a lot of profit from the mining the minerals and exporting it throughout the world. That's about Petra, about the mining it. The first there's a queen in ancient history that there's testimonies of her taking mud baths and mineral baths. Can anybody guess who this queen actually is? There's actually a famous Israeli actress going to be playing her in a movie in the next, I don't know when, but she's probably already started it. This is Cleopatra. And it's considered that she was the first one to actually have a spa at the Dead Sea. It's a natural spa, and the first one actually in the world, according to these kind of testimonies of her taking these mud and mineral baths of the Dead Sea. Now, why even focus on the Dead Sea? I'll just show you part of my photographs, how I've been documenting. The Dead Sea is the lowest point on Earth. It's considered the eighth wonders of the world. It's a one-of-a-kind place. And the fact it's called the Dead Sea, it's nothing but a lie. There's so much life emerging out from this region. The fact that it's being the lowest place on Earth, it actually has 8% more oxygen. It's actually easier to breathe out here. More oxygen in the air, it means it could actually be the most perfect place for rehabilitation and dealing with many diseases. The whole climate therapy concept, people from around the world are coming to this place to get healed, literally, if it's from breathing diseases, skin diseases, chronic diseases, lots of research upon that kind of aspect. At the same time, minerals. Look at these minerals coming out from the surface. This is a mosaic carpet I'm able to capture as it comes out of the water. And these minerals actually provide world agriculture, like the 6 potassium, which is used to be improving the fertilizer for developing countries, is like in the 6th in the world. Magnesium, also a very important mineral for fertilizer and for agriculture, is like the 3rd in the world. And it's feeding basically hundreds of millions of people throughout the entire world. The Dead Sea, what we so-called, is actually providing so much life. And why turn this as a cause? Because it's right now in the lowest in recorded history. We are losing this world wonder day by day. We'll talk about the reasoning why this is actually happening and how this is actually affecting the region and how this is actually affecting the world, all the way to that extent. And so just be with me, but because it's a world wonder, we have what it takes to really show visually the magic and beauty of this place. And I could also say, like never seen before. And you can see already the boats over here. I'm the first one to actually take out a boat on the Dead Sea and explore and document. Literally yesterday was my 5th year documenting it year after year. You can see how dramatic the changes actually are from this place. Let me stop for a second this presentation talking about how unique this body of salt actually is. Those of you who actually been to the Dead Sea, okay, I'm sure you guys never actually seen this before. This is a salt diamond that comes out from the Dead Sea in the shape as a cube. Okay, you have small ones, you got bigger ones. And these things, which literally come out like this, it took hundreds of years of formation for these salt diamonds to actually come out. There are small ones, bigger ones. If it's not for us taking it out, it'll be under the sun and dry out and disappear, basically. So we had no problems. We actually send this to labs throughout the world to really go into it. But anyways, just shows part of the treasures. We literally find this one-of-a-kind plate. This is 100% table salt, by the way. When you look at it in a microscope, you actually see small squares, and over a period of time, they actually grow. So that's just showing how one-of-a-kind place where we actually find every time we go out, we actually find those salt diamonds. Absolutely fascinating. So I just put back the presentation. Yeah, so that's how it actually looks like when we go on the excursion and taking out these salt diamonds. Excuse me. And up until today, the only imagery we actually had of showing how the Dead Sea is receding, the levels have been receding, is through satellites. Every 20 years or so, you'd see the body of the water of the Dead Sea has been shrinking. And of course, these kind of imagery is not really personal, not really intimate. And I'll be showing here today for the first time. I've been the first one to really document year after year in a very, very close, more intimate kind of way to try really affecting public opinion by showing how dramatic the changes actually are. Okay. And those who've actually been to the Dead Sea have been usually in the southern part of the Dead Sea, which is completely artificial. You can see here very clearly, even from a satellite, everything here is divided up into pools of salt. It's completely artificial. The northern Dead Sea, which is this, there's almost no access today. And I'll explain why. I'll explain what's been happening over here, why there's no access. This is how it looks from up close, the southern part of the Dead Sea. You have all the hotels over here. You got the factories on both sides. And just to compare between both bodies of water, these pools of salt are like 4 to 9 meters deep, which is around 20 feet deep. The northern Dead Sea is 480 meters deep, over 1,200 feet deep. Nothing even to compare between both ecosystems. And the entire focus, even in Israel, is the southern part, not realizing this is the northern part that's remaining today, and not much focus is upon that body of water. And why this is actually happening, and again, very similar to what's happening in California, to Mono Lake, to the Salton Sea. I'm sure you guys heard about the Salton Sea, right, between San Diego and Los Angeles. Very similar to that aspect. This pie is more or less what we're dealing with other water bodies around the world. Between 25 to 30% is because the industry, companies are pumping out water from the north to the south for mineral export. And the main big pie over here, which has became our focus, being the only nonprofit dealing with the Dead Sea story, the Dead Sea cause, is focusing on the roots of the problem, is the sources of the water. Where's the water coming from, where it should be coming from, and what happened to that source of water. And we'll get to that point because it takes you to the whole regional concept of understanding how water is the most valuable asset we have in the world, and especially in the Middle East, being one of the driest regions in the entire world. So already now I'm taking the whole Dead Sea story to a much larger context of understanding of valuing water sustainability, and it's not that obvious, and we'll get more into the whole story as we go on. Okay, so what's been happening to the Dead Sea, because the water has been receding, what this has been causing for the entire northern Dead Sea, on the shores, you have sinkholes. Wherever you see the red and yellow, these are sinkholes are being opened up. You'll be experiencing in a second how the sinkhole actually looks like. Over 700 appear every single year, over 6,000 in total. It's causing huge property damages, huge catastrophes. Looks like an Armageddon, literally. And what you even see, even on this map, which is not accurate anymore, you have your Mineral Beach. This was closed off 6 years ago. You'll be experiencing this in just a couple of minutes in virtual reality on your own personal smartphone. And Gedi Beach was closed off as well because of sinkholes 2 years ago. The only access to the northern Dead Sea is through here. You got like one beach resort over here called Kalia Beach, which is like a 40-minute drive to Jerusalem. And you have the spa of En Gedi, which is around over here. Those are the two access points you actually have to the real Dead Sea remaining today. Everything else is closed off. So the only way to explore the Dead Sea is actually going through the sea with the boat and uncovering the new beaches that have been formed just a couple of weeks beforehand, all the way to that extent. Okay, so this is why I've been exposing as an entrepreneur, learning how to use a lot of social media and promoting this whole eco tour on the Dead Sea. There are only 2 boats on the Dead Sea, 1 operator, that is it. And the way I was marketing this boat excursion was just promoting the imagery, what we've been seeing on these boat excursions and through social media. And the more I got people on this boat, the more I was able to keep on going on this boat and keep on documenting like I've never done before. And this is just, a summary. This is a 3-year time lapse of returning to the exact same point. You can see the months, April, and yesterday, like I said, was exactly my 5th year documenting time lapse year after year. Check out how dramatic the changes actually are. You can see already here, This is after 1 year, completely out of the water. The way you know it's the exact same location, if you look in the background, you can see that it's the exact same formation, exact same location. And it took me months to recognize, to understand what I'm actually looking at, because everything changes so fast, so rapidly. It really took me in understanding what I'm looking at, especially this point over here. I did not recognize this is the exact same place I've been a couple of months before. So this is the first of a kind documentation, simple photography, right? This is the Salt Cave, water reaching the Salt Cave, September 16. Now for just 3 years, it's like a 15 feet drop, 3-meter drop. Very, very dramatic. You've seen that from up close. This got a lot of attention in media, in Israel, abroad, because it was a first of a kind documentation showing those changes in a very short period of time. When I take out people on these rides, I show them what's happening, but then I'll explain, look what was here a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and really connect them more personally to the changes that's been occurring. Using visual arts and using documentation as a way for us to keep on trying to change public opinion, going all the way to Israel's parliament, the Knesset. This is the Committee for Saving the Dead Sea, and showing the imagery over there, trying to show, look at this beauty, this magic that we're losing every single day. At the same time, I had a time lapse year after year, going to different scientific institutions, having Instagram. The fact we have social media today, which is a great platform for self-expressing. Every single day, I used to put a photograph from the Dead Sea, just showing this beauty and this magic that's never been seen before, because it's all been documented only through the sea. So if you go on my Instagram, it's my name, Noam Badin, Dead Sea. You would actually find up to 1,000 photographs that have been taken from the Dead Sea. And that was my way to make a mark every single day by sharing this world wonder from up close. Sinkholes, the other side of the story. We'll be seeing later on the catastrophe of the sinkholes, which is really causing huge damages and property damages. But the other side of it is a beautiful geological phenomenon. I've been documenting a lot in 360, just part of that experience. What are sinkholes? Sinkholes are basically fresh waters underneath the Dead Sea. And because the water has been shrinking, what it does, it creates cavities, because the fresh water causes cavities in the ground. Eventually these cavities grow and then everything collapses into a hole. That's how you have actually sinkholes. And it's a beautiful thing to be exposed to. Beautiful colors, different minerals that are actually extracted inside the sinkhole. I did not even mention there are 26 minerals in the Dead Sea. 12 of them are found only specifically in the Dead Sea and no other place in the entire world, which is absolutely fascinating. So that combination of minerals and salt is a one-of-a-kind combination, and that's why it's such a unique kind of water body that is really literally losing and going away every single day. Interesting enough, these sinkholes, when the time goes by, eventually salinity goes down. When salinity goes down, it means that you could actually have vegetation appearing outside. Life forms are appearing from this region. And the first time I went to explore the Dead Sea shores with a boat, I went on to the shores and seeing the sinkholes. And I was amazed that in one of the sinkholes, I actually saw fish, literally small fish right over here. I did not realize at the time, taking just a simple picture, it's not aesthetic or anything like that, but taking this kind of image and broadcasting it around to the world, I had no idea what kind of attention I'll be getting by just exposing this kind of photograph. And apparently there are biblical prophecies that are mentioning how one day a fisherman in En-Gedi, which is in the Dead Sea, will be fishing for fish. I was getting hate emails from the Vatican, literally all the way from the Vatican, saying, "You're a liar. This cannot be happening. No such thing does fish in the Dead Sea. This can't be happening right now." I try to explain these are the fish on the shores of the Dead Sea, but at the same time, there's actually life forms in the Dead Sea itself, which is something phenomenal to be showing firsthand. Check out this 2-minute video of showing the contrast of it. I think it's a very common thing in Israel, trying to show both sides of the story. One hand, you could be focusing on the catastrophe and the damages. On the other hand, trying to show the life emerging, the hope, the resilience is very, very powerful. So this is the other side of the story of showing the resilience concept of it.
Now, we just know the Dead Sea is the Dead Sea. Nothing lives here. It's full of salt. But things are happening here.
Non-stop things happening. After 3 years, I could tell you there's so much life coming out from the Dead Sea. These are actually sinkholes, what we're seeing over here. So on one hand, it's a devastating aspect of the land violently causing huge holes. On the other hand, again, this is the contrast of it, all the life coming out from these sinkholes.
It's a little oasis here.
We just heard birds. You have bird migration right over here. Look, all this vegetation.
Yeah, there's lush vegetation here. There's birds. We hear them chirping in the background. There's massive migration coming through here, Noam. And there has been sightings, including by yourself, of fish.
Yeah, correct. In this single specifically, actually, we saw some small fish. The fact you have vegetation just shows that salinity went down here, and you can actually have living creatures over here. This is the life emerging out of the water, literally, as we speak. Fresh water springs coming from the Hebron and Jerusalem mountains, underneath the ground, underneath the Dead Sea, creating these sleeves of the salts. The fresh water actually goes inside.
You get a chance to see this up close. This is amazing. What do you think of all this? Special.
This is exactly it. Experiencing prophecy coming true, being part of it, being involved with it is something so spiritually uplifting.
So that was literally the life emerging from the Dead Sea. These are the salt chimneys. This was discovered to the scientific world like 6-7 years ago. That's it. You have basically microorganisms inside the fresh water springs underneath the Dead Sea, creating these sleeves of salt. They're called chimneys because on top of it, you have the water actually receding from it. So it's a beautiful thing actually happening up to like 18 meters, which is around 30 feet tall of these chimneys, something absolutely fascinating to be experiencing firsthand. And by showing these kind of discoveries and exposing it, getting world recognition by it, having National Geographic, I had the first 2 pages in National Geographic mentioning about this and talking about our efforts in education and advocacy. I brought CNN VR on this excursion, taking them to the most strategic places in the Dead Sea. What you guys have here on the left, these are 6 GoPros put on this machinery. This is what used to be virtual reality just a couple of years ago. It was a very complex, very expensive kind of machinery. And I basically learned from them, from CNN, how this is the future in media, in entertainment. And since that point, I started documenting myself in 360 and being a professional in that kind of production, really trying to engage audiences through that. And I wish I was actually there in front of you to really show you guys how to actually be doing this. But we'll have a small exercise with your own personal smartphones. If you guys are not experiencing this yet with your own personal smartphone, it's a pretty cool exercise to be seeing where the world is actually being is leading towards of media and sending off content. So it's pretty cool. We'll get that later on. The most, I think, amazing accomplishment I think we were able to receive is from NASA, the highest ranking of the scientific world, I think. If you guys check out the subject line, it says a NASA collaboration on Mars and the Dead Sea. Now, excuse my French, but what the hell does the Mars have to do with the Dead Sea, right? So not only the Dead Sea has significance to the entire world, like we said, the therapeutic aspect, healing people, providing minerals for agricultural purposes, feeding people throughout the world, but it also has intergalactic appearances. And apparently the voyage of NASA a couple of weeks ago on the way to Mars is very similar to the Dead Sea's landscape. And so we had staffers coming all the way to the Dead Sea. I took them specifically to this point over here. We see all these salt chimneys having microorganisms inside the water for them to take samples to prove the point that even in a place like this, we not expect to find any life forms. Finding life forms, they were hoping for this kind of research to do the same thing in Mars. So that was amazing, combination between Mars and the Dead Sea. And what's interesting from this letter, I got the encouragement to do what we've been doing in the Dead Sea in terms of, advocacy, education, media productions, and to do the same thing in other similar salt water bodies around the world. So I actually flew to California a couple of years ago to document this. Okay, and the story with in California specifically, the Colorado River, which supplies water to up to 40 million people in the Western US, and all the way at the end, it reaches California. the salton seas, the salton lakes you actually have in California have been getting less and less water because of growth of population. More crops need more water today. And therefore, one of the first ones actually to be damaged, to be harmed over here are the salton lakes, salton seas. And I've been to the California Sea, the salton sea. I was completely shocked when I understood that the salton sea in California is considered the worst environmental disaster in California's history. I wanted to really explore and visually to understand why is that. It's not until actually I got to the river banks, the banks of the Salton Sea, I realized what I'm actually looking at, what I'm actually stepping on. And I just took out, the second I saw this, I took out my tripod with my 360 camera and I documented thousands of dried up dead fish throughout the entire shores. It was a pretty shocking experience seeing this, not realizing at the beginning, because I was very close to the water. Only when I went to the shores of it, I realized what's been happening here. There's a lot to get into. I had a whole paper research about this, of comparing between all these these salty bodies, and causing huge environmental problems throughout the entire region. The most cases of asthma right next to the Salton Sea. And the similarity of the story to the Dead Sea is because the sources of the water have been dried out. Sources of the water have been used for other purposes. Like we said, growth of population, more need for water consumption, especially in the West, in the Western US, which does not have natural drinking water overall. The Mono Lake, which is a story on its own as well. I mean, this is a fascinating story to talk about. Mono Lake, which is next to San Francisco. This is actually a model case to see how an advocacy group called Mono Lake Committee actually succeeded in their advocacy work and their demonstrations and their education. Eventually, they were able to change policies. Apparently, the water that's supposed to be going to Mono Lake came more to Los Angeles. Eventually, they're able to divert that. And now the Mono Lake is actually very stable. It's actually considered one of the most ancient lakes in the world. Migration of millions of birds through this area, very rich ecological salton lake. And this is actually a model case to be learning from, how you can be effective in environment and sustainability and actually succeed in changing policies. A lot to get into. Just what are the resemblance in terms of trying to make a change overall. So what we'll have right now with you, this small demonstration. If you guys go in the chat box, okay, I'll put it again if you guys want. I also send it to Yarin. I sent in the YouTube link. You can send it to Debbie if you have a WhatsApp, and she can send it to you guys. But I'll put it here again for everybody. And I urge you, take out your smartphone and just copy this link. It's a very cool exercise showing you how we actually using more advanced documentation for interacting with your audience, which is a pretty cool kind of way. So we'll have a couple more seconds for you guys to actually log into your YouTube account. Again, YouTube app, not browser, but app on your phone. And once you do that, just press play. I'm going to put back the presentation, and I actually video my screen while I'm actually doing 360. So those of you actually having technological problems, which is not really a problem because you just click on it, you'll actually be able to watch it live on the screen. We'll just have like 5 minutes just for you guys to explore. It's a 15-minute exploration video I've done in 360, choosing the most dramatic area, the most dramatic aspect of the sinkholes, of showing the devastation in the sinkhole resort that was closed off completely over 5 years ago. So I'll put up the screen back over here, and you guys can actually start scrolling through your own personal smartphone, and could just come back here in 5 minutes. You can put on mute and just watch on your own convenience. And if this is your first time, just take your phone once you press the link on the YouTube app and start moving around. And that's the whole part of the experience of interaction for you to actually choose what to actually focus on. Because we'll just have 5 minutes of this, and you guys can actually watch the screen if you're having difficulties, and we'll just get back here in the next 5 minutes.
Welcome to the Dead Sea. We'll be going through a 360 virtual reality expedition of Mineral Beach that was deserted 5 years ago.
Today is 19th of October, the first day of a global climate change week. This is dedicated to Hillel International, a special expedition, especially for them. Welcome. Welcome. This is the entrance to Mineral Beach. Completely silent, completely quiet over here. Check this out. This will be our first 360 experience as we explore the entrance. Follow me through, and as we follow through, check out the sunrise in the background. Now you can move your smartphone. Look below me. Look at all these shattered glasses. I'm entering right now the center of the entrance, and this location, look above you. You can already see the wall, the ceiling that actually stayed over here, and on your right, look at that. That's all the destruction actually happened to this place. This entrance was to the resort. You had beautiful little shops over here. And the fact you see the sea all the way down below, we'll be experiencing as time goes by how far the beach actually has resulted due to the receding water level. Let's go on to the next place and see for ourselves why this place was deserted a couple of years ago. Check this out. We're all going up the steps. Look at these plants. We'll be seeing plants all over. It's amazing how these plants, they come out from the cracks that occurred over here, really seeing the power of Mother Nature in this area. So check this out. We'll see you on the next sinkhole. We are now over the sinkhole that opened up here 2 years ago. Check this out. I'll be walking through the edge over here very carefully. And right now you can explore looking below you. Look behind you, the beautiful Judean mountains shining up with the sunlight. So just follow me through. Check this out. This is actually the parking lot of Mineral Beach. This huge sinkhole is actually like 40 meters deep. It opened up like 2 years ago. This wasn't the main sinkhole that actually occurred over here. We'll be going to the main one very soon. But you can see how it's a perfect line. You can see all the sediments, all the different layers of the sinkhole itself. It's pretty dramatic seeing this right in the middle of the parking lot. Now check out behind me. Behind me, you could see the sign saying here, Prat leautobusim, meaning this is exclusive for buses. This is the location where buses actually have to be parking. Having this sign along with the sinkhole is pretty amazing, pretty dramatic seeing this. So this is the sinkhole that occurred here 2 years ago. Okay, so guys, so you guys are welcome to keep on watching it later on. We have more to go through. We don't have too much time. But I'd love just to stop it for a second. Just love to hear people's comments. Was this your first time actually experiencing 360 on your smartphone? Did it work for you guys? Any kind of feedback will be very much appreciated because this is like a new kind of thing. And again, being on college campuses for many years, when I've been doing this with students, this was their first time experiencing this. So I'd love to know if this actually was your first time and how was that experience for you guys? Especially, being on Zoom, one-dimensional throughout the entire year, having a new kind of dimension, kind of a way to interact is a whole new kind of way to really try engaging. So yeah, so I'm seeing your comments now over here on the chat. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's really good. So I see that it worked for you very nice on YouTube. I used to actually use Facebook beforehand. I realized you could actually have it in a higher quality on the YouTube app. So anyways, I always try getting feedback so we can always learn from these kind of experiences, how to extend this kind of use. Excuse me, I've done this expedition in 360 specifically during climate change, Global Climate Change Week, which was very common and very big actually in California towards the end of October. That's why I've done that expedition. So let's go back to the presentation very fast and just showing you this is another cool part of the story, seeing how people have been self-expressing themselves using the whole kind of concept of visual arts. I'm very proud of this part because I had a very big part of it as well. And exactly a year ago, Earth Day 2020, which was exactly 50 years to Earth Day, we had the first international Dead Sea photo competition. And we did not, this is during the first, the first lockdown of the pandemic. We did not know what to expect, the truth is. We were amazed about, the stuff we actually got from around the world, from 40 countries, sending in their favorite moments, their favorite photographs, even from neighboring countries in the Middle East. We did not even have diplomatic relations with. We're sending in their photographs from the Jordanian side. It was a fascinating thing to be seeing. And we got like 15,000 photographs, over 9 million votes. And tomorrow is the opening of the Dead Sea photo exhibition. 40 selected photographs. Those 15,000 photographs are going to be displayed in Arad, which is a little community town overlooking the Dead Sea. So we're very proud of that. Very much looking forward seeing imagery and environmental art, which really inspired people to really take part of it. And this is just a 1-minute video just showing about the amazing stuff we actually got from people around the world and showing how they've been self-expressing themselves through environmental arts. It's a great thing, I think, to share with people because it's another medium we have. That was just 1 minute of it. And this past weekend, we really launched the Dead Sea Museum. We've been working 18 months on a virtual Dead Sea art museum. We actually had professional architects designing the structure, the museum itself, which is actually located in the center of the sea. Again, it's a virtual, so you could really be as imaginary as possible. And we've been getting amazing comments over here, and we're hoping to give this as a platform for people, for environmental artists to show their work inside here. And again, the Dead Seas International Photo Exhibition is actually displayed over here. You're welcome to enter the museum. We're going to have famous artists actually displaying their work over here in the next couple of months. So you just log into the deadseamuseum.com. And you're able very simply to actually see the exhibition and just keep in touch with us because we'll be getting your contact information. Simple as that. And like I said, tomorrow is our opening of the Dead Sea Life photo exhibition. So we're very excited about this. Looking forward very much. If I go for a second about the getting more in depth, just for a couple minutes, about the story about saving the Dead Sea. Okay, I guess the water politics, the water diplomacy we actually have in our region. I'm showing this map over here because it shows you all the neighboring countries we actually have over here. Some we do have diplomatic relations, some we do not. There's a lot of confrontations actually. And the most interesting thing to actually know about getting to a region, learning about the historical aspect of neighboring countries is always through the map of seeing where the water sources are actually coming from. And that gives you an understanding how water, as throughout history, has been always a source the whole concept of water has always become a cause for war. But at the same time, water diplomacy became one of the only tools we have today for coexistence, living here side by side and building up new relationships, which I'm very proud to be part of. And you can see over here the Dead Sea, what used to be feeding the Dead Sea is the Jordan River. This is the Sea of Galilee, where the rivers actually come from neighboring countries. In Israel's modern history, we actually have confrontations in Syria and Lebanon because of diverting of water sources to our national water reserves. And that's part of the aspects to understand how complex this actually is. And basically the only solution, before even solutions, on the other side of the Dead Sea, we have Jordan. And Jordan is the fourth driest country in the world today, having the least fresh water per capita. They have like once a week in Amman, the capital of Jordan, they actually have water in their taps. Meaning you get to a point, and this is the point that needs to be made, the Dead Sea needs enormous amount of fresh water in order to save it, in order to keep it in the same level. Fresh water, not salt water, because the water is actually came from the Jordan River. But the question, the moral question that comes out from this analysis of understanding, if you have enormous amount of water, right, ready now, are you going to be using this amount of water to be saving a water treasure, or are you going to be providing it to a thirsty population on the other side of the Dead Sea, specifically in this region? And that's why, and of course, it's not really a moral dilemma, is because it became a basic human rights to be providing with clean and drinkable water. And therefore, the more I understand, the more every year that goes by and the Dead Sea is shrinking, it exemplifies the concept that water security of the region is completely unstable. And there's still a lot of way we have to be going to be working here, regional here together for promoting this concept of water sustainability. And in one of the most fragile areas, one of the most fragile regions in the entire world, which is MENA, Middle East and North Africa. So we're touching about the Dead Sea cause became a much larger picture. And today, the only solution today for saving the Dead Sea, which is a fascinating story on its own, it's called the Red Sea to the Dead Sea. And basically the plan is to building here the largest desalination plant in the world. I'm sure you guys are familiar with desalination. You actually do have it in California. Desalination plants taking salt water, turning it into fresh water. And the real project over here is bringing water all the way to Amman, to Jordan. Technically, it's not until the Jordanians actually have fresh water, you can really start talking about saving this water treasure. And that's why to stage a solution, we're very far from it. The World Bank have promised to be providing $10 billion for this canal, for this plant. And they see this as a symbol of the Middle East, of cooperation and coexistence. And the fact that it's the biggest plant in the world that's planned to be built here, only that technology can be a model case for the entire region and the world, where the world's actually going towards a scarce world with, not having enough water. Solutions coming from this area can be an inspiration. So let me go very fast. And when I was exposed to this, I was amazed to see, being optimistic, that solutions coming from a country today for third world countries, for developing countries, in terms of water management and water technologies is absolutely tremendous. And the Dead Sea cause is to really become a specialist in this and to become an inspiration for the entire region. So I'll just finish with this short video of really showing about how solutions of water are already coming from this region, from our country, but at the same time, we still have a long way to be going. So stay with me.
Well, in the realm of desalination, Israel is the global leader. CCTV's Stephanie Freed visited the world's largest facility.
The Mediterranean Sea. 2.5 million square kilometers of water usually associated with surfboards, yachts, and beach holidays. But water scientists have a different vision. Vast bodies of water as resources for hydrating consumers and industry for generations. The vision turned reality happens here at Sorek Desalination Plant, the world's largest desalination facility of its kind, one of 5 plants in Israel, providing 40% of the country's drinking water at relatively low costs. Seawater sucked from the Mediterranean through industrial pipes gets filtered through membranes. Salt and debris is removed. The water is treated with advanced chemical-free bacterial agents. The end result is drinking water.
This is the finished product, desalinated water. And according to the officials here at the plant, it's a more complete water than water that hasn't had the saline removed, because in the process of desalination, minerals are added back.
Israel partners strategically on desalination tech sharing throughout the world, including with China. China's largest facility in Tianjin pumps 200,000 cubic meters of desalinated water per day.
There are several projects that are underway in the approval process. So I believe that we will see more and more desalination in China in the very near future.
Desalination's downsides: higher costs to consumers than non-desalinated water, and the environmental impact of putting post-treatment brine water back into the sea. But with the prediction that 1.8 billion people worldwide will not be able to access clean drinking water within a decade, squeezing fresh water from the world's seas and oceans may be the only viable solution for consumption needs. Stephanie Fried, CCTV, Palmahim, Israel.
Did you guys hear that last sentence? 1.8 billion people around the world are going to have a lack of water, not enough drinking water, water shortages in the next decade. When I heard that, it really struck hard. I'm really understanding the much larger picture over here, the value of water that we've been taking so much for granted many times throughout the world, especially in developing countries, not realizing how this can be affecting the entire world and most of the world. Actually, according to the American government, 40 out of 50 states by the year 2025 are going to be scarce states, having shortages of water, especially in the West, by the way, in the Western US. And again, the whole concept of desalination, which is part of the technology aspect of solving water shortages or having lack of water. The same aspect for the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea, building the largest plant in the world today, can be a model case for the entire region and inspiration for the entire world. And I'm very proud to be saying that this concept of understanding the much larger picture of valuing water overall, how this became a value that we can have with a neighboring country to be unified behind it. I am actually in 4 days flying to the United Arab Emirates, thanks to the Abraham Accords, the peace treaty we just had with the UAE. Just a couple of months ago, apparently Israel and the UAE are leading countries, are global leaders in the world for water management and water technology. And I've been taking during this pandemic time is to take the Dead Sea cause and making it to a much larger scale of branding the entire Israel into a whole Israel eco tour focused on water sustainability. At the same time, I've been invited by the government in the UAE to be doing the exact same thing on their side, building a whole ecotourism itinerary on their side, and then eventually to connect both worlds together. And my dream and vision is to become a bridge to other water treasures throughout the entire Middle East, which are an immediate need for rehabilitations and maintenance. Okay, there's a lot to go over, but basically the entire Middle East is the first time in history the main rivers are being dried out, and the first time in thousands of years. It is a lot because of lack of management, a lot because of confrontation and conflicts happening in different regions, like if it's Syria, Iraq. The Nile is the longest river today in the world, going through 9 countries, having a huge dam being built up in Ethiopia, not having enough water reaching all the way to Cairo. This is causing a lot of tensions again in North Africa. So eventually, my dream is to become literally a bridge to these neighboring countries that we just started having this normalizations, but also countries we do not have diplomatic ties, but hoping with this value of understanding the value of the most precious nature resource we actually have of the region and the world is water. Through that, we're hoping to build more relationships and hoping to, on the long run, to actually save our water treasures. And this became actually our slogan. I'm so proud that, in January, I spoke in Abu Dhabi in front of 5,000 youth virtually. And for me to be setting this kind of slogan, this kind of hashtag for them to be using for their own water preservations, that was my way for me to connect to them and have a much larger scale of influence to try connecting everything into the one story. So again, the Dead Sea started off by taking simple pictures year after year and realizing it's a much larger scale, much larger picture than we realize today. We have to be evaluating water that's been taken very much for granted overall. This is my business cards. You guys are always welcome to be in touch, especially in the future. I'm looking forward to returning to California on better days. Excuse me. And this is my new card I'll be traveling with in the next 4 days, building a whole new concept of Middle East ecotourism. Like I said, this will be a great way to be connecting people in the region and abroad with these kind of values. And this is actually, I'm very much motivated to the concept. So be in touch because I'll have a lot more to tell when I'm coming back from the UAE and seeing how we can actually become a bilateral ecotourism and offering students like yourselves to come to the region in the Middle East and be inspired about water sustainability through eco sightseeing adventures. Simple as that. So I'm going to stop over here. If you guys have any questions or anything that you guys want to be asking, any comments whatsoever, I went through things pretty fast. There's a lot more to talk about, to be honest, but everything has to do with timing, with your span of attention. So if you guys have any comments or anything you guys want to be talking about or asking, you guys are more than welcome.
Hi, I'm gonna get rid of the speaker view. We can have a conversation. I had a quick question. That the solution that you presented is awesome. I love the idea of desalination. Is that a viable solution to the problem, or is that still kind of in negotiations?
Very good point. Are you talking about in general or specifically for the Dead Sea?
Specifically for the Dead Sea, yeah.
A good point. This project, the Red Sea to the Dead Sea Canal, has been on the table for the past over 25 years. Because there's always tensions between countries, nothing is on a go yet. And to be honest, many environmentalists and scientists are completely against this project because the water that's supposed to be reaching the Dead Sea coming from the Red Sea can ruin it, according to them. There is a chance it could be actually ruining it completely. The very delicate balance of minerals and salt can really ruin it because the Dead Sea needs fresh water, not salt water. The desalination water is actually supposed to be going to Amman, to Jordan, for drinking purposes. And this is the only project that Jordanians are interested in because they want to have a source of water, not be depending on anybody else, especially on Israel. They want to have their own sources of the water. And that's why being very realistic in the next decade, not even before that, in the next decade, the water level is going to keep on going down of the Dead Sea. And the more it's going down, the more it exemplifies the lack of regional cooperation for water sustainability and with water security and stability of the region. And that's why it's a much larger project today to be promoting, at least during this time, these kind of concepts as much as we can as a simple, small, private nonprofit.
No, that's great. Oh, we have some questions. How much has the ocean temperature increased over the years in the Dead Sea?
Well, the Dead Sea is actually, the region itself is one of the hottest regions. It's one of the hottest areas of the region, to be honest. That's why there's a huge evaporation of water, especially during the summertime. I'll be more exact, climate change has affecting very much our region, especially in the Middle East. The Middle East be going through like 10 years of droughts. Okay, we have a lack of water, even though in Israel we did have this past 3 winters, I think, we had good blessed years, more than the average. It filled up our Sea of Galilee, which used to be the main source of water, but today up to 60-70% today is desalinated water, okay, for drinkable purposes. But at the same time, it's hardly even connected anymore to the Dead Sea. It's because the Jordan River, which is the longest border between Israel and Jordan, has been used mainly for agriculture and drinking purposes. And that's why there's lack of management on the Jordan River, and therefore hardly any water actually reaches eventually the Dead Sea. So climate change has a huge aspect of the region in terms of droughts and less water. The Middle East has it, the Middle East and North Africa have it worse in terms of water supply today in the world.
Yeah, I agree. Sarah just has a comment. Thank you so much for telling this story. It's such a beautiful place that is lucky to have you to get the word out.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you, Sarah.
Another question. Are there any health issues in the area due to Dead Sea?
What do you mean by health issue?
I'm not sure. Do you want to expand on this, Kendra?
Sure. I was just wondering, like, because you told us a lot about like they have advantages like skincare and stuff like that. But like,
Right.
are there any disadvantages like concerning the skin or heart or I don't know, like by smelling that?
Almost every disease you can imagine, to be honest, is actually the most perfect place in the world for rehabilitation is the Dead Sea. Because of the climate itself being the lowest place on Earth, it has better oxygen in the air. It has more oxygen in the air, up to 8%. The sun is a healthy sun, the UVA is healthier than other places around the world. And the mixture of salt and minerals, all that combination is the best place to actually get healed. And it's miraculous going through. We have a whole presentation on that concept of seeing people and they're seeing patients and showing after 3 weeks just spending their time in the Dead Sea, how they get healed almost completely, not healed completely, but get restored, especially with skin diseases. And it's good for, they have it good for an entire year. This is with no medication, no nothing. It's just the most natural kind of way to be just spending their time at the Dead Sea location. You get healed automatically from all that being having a sun bath, having a salt bath, having a salt mineral bath. All that combination with of course with supervision is actually has amazing results on people, on patients, and also cancer, also hearts, also diabetes, also anxiety. Why anxiety? Because the blood pressure is lower, so it's actually more relaxed. You got the brome, which is another mineral that when it evaporates, it goes into the air, and you feel more relaxed scientifically. So it's a really a wonderful wonder place in the world, and it's considered what's considered the medical tourism. It's a very known thing in our region, and we actually have patients from Europe actually get subsidized. They actually get subsidized from their health ministry to get healed in the Dead Sea, which is very, very interesting on its own. So it's definitely one of a kind place. And the fact it's called the Dead Sea, it's nothing but providing life.
Thank you. We only have probably time for one more question. I believe I asked you this before we started. Could you tell us if there's any opportunities for students to maybe intern or study abroad in the area?
For sure, 100%. I think Yarin would be more professional about that. Yarin, would you know how to answer this? We definitely have overseas programs. If it's one semester, if there's also internship programs, summer programs. There's a year-long programs as well in any kind of fields. We actually personally take almost every summer, we take interns. Anything has to do with environment advocacy, education, people that are good in graphic design. All your qualities you actually have, we put them into work. We definitely always can use people as well. But Yarin, do you want to say a couple of words about that? I'm sure you're familiar more with Masa or something like that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I will just say briefly that there are many programs. So it's very, since we're short of time, I don't want to talk about everything, but Arava Institute and many other organizations really offer great internships and programs. So I will leave my email on the chat. And if you're really interested in any of them, feel free to contact me and I will be more than happy to provide any information you need.
Thank you. I'm going to post the recording on our social media and YouTube. If you can send me something that you're okay with me posting in the captions. I don't know if you want me to post just your email address, but perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just put my websites as well, and people are welcome anytime. I really truly mean that. You guys are always welcome. Come visit us. Hopefully very soon, actually visitors, tourists can actually visit Israel towards the end of May, opening up for those who've been vaccinated. We're looking forward to hosting people again, seeing people again from around the world. We miss that, to be honest. So people are always welcome to be in touch, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in California. California is a great strategic place to be working together, especially on environment issues, on sustainability, especially with the Dead Sea story, the Dead Sea cause. Like I said, a lot of resemblance to other water treasures in your area. So we're hoping more and more to be collaborating and getting more people involved with this kind of concept.
Well, this was an amazing talk, and thank you again so much for sharing this. If I would love to stay in touch with you and share your progress on all the projects you're working with our sustainability circle here on campus. But yeah, it's 1 o'clock and we made time.
11 o'clock over here.
Oh, nice. Go to sleep then. Oh. But
So
thank
Debbie, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the time and efforts, and please be our voice in Facebook, so-called. And thank you guys for coming out. I know it's not easy always being on a Zoom or being through the screen, but I will try doing as much as we can and making it interactive and entertaining for you guys. And of course, thank you for Yavin putting all this together and really being
Totally.
our advocate for this cause and for our story. So thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye,
Take
everyone.
care. Good luck on your
Thank
final.
you.
Take care,
Thank
guys.
you, Debbie.
Bye.
Bye-bye.